So Giles Scott helming on port today, first day for T6 in Barcelona. Yesterday we saw the boat, you guys were going to go sailing, you had some technical issues. Anything you can tell us about that?
It's just some of the data link setup that we had between the base, the boat and back in Brackley. So it got sorted throughout the day, but unfortunately we missed our window. Breeze picked up in the late afternoon to, I think it got north of 20 knots, and we weren't that keen to push out on that with a recommissioning day for T6.
So T6 been in the shed, or at least in transit. Any modifications in that down period?
Yeah, there's been plenty going on in the background. As you probably see from today, there's no major component changes, but for sure there's been little tweaks here and there. And I'm sure if you look at in detail at some of the photos, there'll be a few little things of interest there.
We noticed a grey enclosure on the bottom of the mast there. We've seen it there before, but it seems to be being used in anger this time. Does that give you some different functionality?
Yeah, it's just the location of some of the electronic hardware. It was sitting in the boat in Palma. It's now just moved onto the back of the rig. That's all.
So let's talk about today. It was an interesting day out on the water. We all know that it's bumpy out there.
Yeah.
And it proved to be so. How does that change how you sail the boat?
Oh well, I mean, I think the sea state today certainly changed a lot. Looking back to last week when we were sailing the AC40, we had some lumpy days, but for sure today was a big step up on the conditions that we even saw last week. So yeah, I'd say it was for the wind speed and the wind direction. The sea state was pretty extreme today. Certainly very tricky in the 40-footer.
Does it change all of the angles, exits from tacks, jibes, all of that stuff?
Yeah, it changes absolutely everything. I mean, as a sailing group, we've got to adjust to it. I mean, it's you're changing sail shapes all the time. You're having to steer around waves. Pilots have got a lot on trying to keep the foils in the water as well. So, yeah, it certainly makes the sailing a lot more challenging. Let's put it that way.
We noticed yesterday a new addition to the front of the boat for the trimmers and flight controllers, a digital display with a red dot circulated.
Oh yes, yeah, just a Night Rider edition.
It does look like Night Rider. What does that do for them?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what it does at the moment. It helps them with trim. I'm not sure if it's aero or hydro orientated at the moment. It can be configured either way.
Okay, how would you score yourself today, Giles, on today's performance?
A solid commissioning day, yeah, certainly an eye-opener for some of the conditions that Barcelona can offer. So yeah, it was a good day. Let's give it, I don't know, give it an 8 out of 10.
Josh Junior, trimmer and flight controller on Emirates Team New Zealand, defender of the 37th America's Cup. Josh, today we have seen the biggest swell so far, pretty disorganized from the east, and we also had very unstable wind conditions from the southwest and very unstable on intensity. Can you share the main insights of the day?
Yeah, exactly. It's the biggest waves we've seen here in Barcelona. Sure, some of the other teams have seen bigger, but it's basically all generated from the Mistral coming out of France, and the big amount of wind coming out of there pushes the waves, and the waves wrap into Barcelona. But unfortunately we didn't get the wind, so it was a little bit lighter. We got the waves but not the wind.
Going into the maneuvers today, it seemed like it was a lot harder to jibe and to tack from port tack into starboard tack, and especially to accelerate when you were heading against the direction of the swell. Did you feel the same way on board?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't on board, but for sure the waves make a massive difference to how you have to sail the boat. So it gets a lot trickier when the waves get big, and that's where the skill of the crew comes in. So yeah, I guess punching into them like all boats is always harder than going down them. So depending on which way the waves are skewed, the boat can be easier or harder to sail.
Then if you could have the opportunity to ask your design team to customize the components for a day like today, and talking especially about foil arms, foil flaps, and the shape of the foils, what would you be asking for?
How do we go faster? Always.
Okay. And then going into boat tuning, we noticed that even today, when you have a bigger top, you're sailing with the lowers pretty loose. Is that something that you're doing intentionally?
No, it's something we could look into a little bit more, but the rig's pretty well, set up, and it just, I don't know. No, well, I don't know much about it, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in terms of communication, even though you were not sailing today, you're on the chase boat and you can hear what the team is talking about, what they are saying. Is there much more communication when you have days like today?
Yeah, I think naturally when the waves are a bit bigger, or the conditions are trickier or shiftier or gustier, the conversation always turns a little bit more towards the boat handling, like any boat. And then it's just about trying to get your head out of the boat to keep racing. So like all sailing, it just gets a little bit more challenging when the waves get up.
No te muevas.